Hello everybody, this is Maniac for Bricks, and I'm here today with set number 70787, Tahu Master of Fire from LEGO Bionicle. This is ages 8 to 14, has 89 pieces, includes 2 figures and 1 extra mask, and was released in 2014. The original retail price of this set is $14.99 in the United States. Here on the back of the box, we get to look at some of the play features with our main figure, Tahu. Also get to see how you can combine this with set 70783, the Protector of Fire, to make a cooler combination. It also shows us a small comic on the back. We'll get more into that in the instructions, which is a good thing they have them in there so that if you take away the box, well, you can still read the comic in the instructions. The instruction booklet, uniquely enough, has kind of a sideways binding to it. It's more vertical than horizontal. And actually it looks pretty good from the front. We have our comic inside of here, where the Protector of Fire is trying to fend off the skull spiders. Tahu finds the golden mask and saves the day, basically. The set is composed of one large bag with, I think, another small bag inside of it as far as holding the pieces. One of the extra pieces fell out. It also has a way of converting Tahu from using the 2 swords from one mode into another mode. We'll take a closer look at that later. 1 page for the piece count, the Mask of Creation shown on the back, and then the extra part about making a combo model between the 2 figures, sold separately, our Toa figures all together, and the wind section on the back. Now let's bring out our man, Tahu himself. Wait a minute. That doesn't look like the box. There it is. That looks more like the box then. The one on the right is actually the 2003 variant of Tahu in the older series of Bionicle. So this will give you a nice comparison between the two of how he's evolved since 2003. About 12 years later. And a lot better in terms of part building, construction, design, shape, color. Really, I'm impressed with it. I mean, I don't want to discredit this too much. I'm still a big fan of the older Bionicle series. But I gotta say that in terms of playability and reusing the parts, there was a lot more to the Tahu on the left, the one in the set, that really brings the theme together and really allows more for creativity. Now, this version of Tahu is the second version made from Bionicle, but it closely resembles the one that 2015 Tahu is shown here. As you can tell by the armor on them, the use of the double swords, even the style of the masks, they look very similar. They both still have the gear mechanism on the back, which is still great. And I really like how this is constructed. It uses some newer pieces, but they're still easy to comprehend and actually has a cool thought to it. Whereas the old one, if you were to move the arms back and forth, they kind of would fall back into a regular position, just by gravity. Whereas the new one, on the other hand, oops, mask is falling off too easily. We'll get more into that a little bit later. But whereas the new one, when you move these arms up and down, they might have a little bit of friction in them. Might have to move these shoulders back a bit. But when you move them up and down, they'll stay in the position for the most part, or at least they won't fall as quickly. That's because that next to the gears that are pulling these back and forth, they do have a bit of friction. Not as much as some other figures, but there's still a little bit inside of there, mostly towards the head area. So you can get a little bit more smoother motion with it, and depending on how you position the arms, you could hold them up a little bit better, whereas the older ones, well, there's not much you can do there, and if you did hold them up, it would kind of fall back into place anyways. I'll try not to compare it too much, but it is something nice to know if you're an older Bionicle fan, just to see how these compare. Now, all these parts are actually pretty good colors. I do like how they use the red, gold, pearl gold that is, and trans orange throughout the figure. Very little of the trans orange, which is perfectly okay with me. I prefer to see a lot more of the red than the trans orange. Now, there are 2 swords on the back, which are held in this compartment. They swing out like so, and you can also hold them up and take them out. We'll get more into that a little bit later, because that has to do with when we change the swords in his hands into a lava blade. I mean, a lava surfboard. Now, as you saw, the mask keeps falling off pretty easily. And that's because it's not held in too much. It's held in just enough to stay on the figure, like so. But it also has a feature on the back, kind of new for 2015, in which you can hit this brainstalk, how we used to call it. And not only, well, that piece itself is good for lighting, and if you had some good photography skill, you could get the light to shine back here and create the eyes like they're glowing and make the figure feel alive. But otherwise, for a play feature, you can tap this on the back and it'll release the mask. The mask is held on in place by 2 notches, as you can see right here. So it's not too secure and not too loose either. Maybe a little bit on more the loose side. We'll take a closer look at his skull right here. See if I can get that better in the frame. Actually looks pretty good, and it's the same skull that's used with other Tahu and the protectors. That chest plate, by the way, is printed, which is pretty good. And it looks pretty good with the gold mask on there as well. It's just a different color of the original mask that you saw before. But it looks, I'd say it looks pretty good, surrounding itself with the other gold elements on him, and also good for the combination. We'll get more into that a little bit later. We can take this mask off, and we can put on the Skull Spider. This is supposed to be a small minion villain, but it also acts as a mask. Again, you can see those notches on the back kind of jut out from it. And by very, very careful placing, you can actually put this on top. Sometimes the legs might pop off or might be hard to reach around, but I'm sure you could find a way to do it the way I'm doing it. Yes, these shoulder armors can actually be moved a bit in place by ball joints, so it is helpful. And there we go. You can have the impression that perhaps Tahu's being infected or trying to fight with a close combat with one of the skull spiders. And just like before, you just simply hit the brainstalk and you can take it off. I'll put this back on. Now, another feature with Tahu, other than the posability, I meant to show you before, the posability in the legs. And it has a couple different ball joints at the ankles, at the knees, at the hips. I think we already saw it before with the legs, with the arms. You could move it at the wrist and the elbow and at the shoulders as well. So it is very easy to pose this and get a lot of nice action display with it. But even more than that, you want to just play with this figure, right? Let's show you that part I was talking about earlier. Sorry for moving everything around. We'll simply clip these two together. They have small clips on the ends. Then we'll use this black piece included in the set and hold it in place. And these 2 friction pins are going to attach to one of the legs. So you can put it on like this, and you can get him to lava surf the way that he used to do in the 2003 version. I've also set up our fellow Tahu Nuva on the right to also do the lava surfing function as he did back in 2003. The only problem with that one is it might be a little harder to pose the legs, and this one actually has the board attached to the feet. Perhaps I should have reviewed it separately, but it feels like now I'm doing a comparison. And as far as those gold blades I talked about earlier, now we can use them because Tahu has his hands open, and we can use them so he can still fight off while he's surfing. So it adds an extra challenge to it, but also adds a little bit more to play with. Another way that you can move around the figure and set up different scenarios for him to play in with some of the other figures. These little flame pieces on the bottom are actually pretty interesting. They're simply attached inside of the lava board. They're not actually, they're connected on here, but they're not part of the same piece. You can remove them if you wanted to. But overall, I really like how this figure is done. I also like the inclusion of the skull spider, so it gives you a little bit to play with. I kind of wish there was a little bit more, because in In the earlier part of 2015 Bionicle, we're not getting a lot of villains yet. That's a little bit more for later in the summer wave. But as far as the figure, I really impressed with it. It has a lot of great posing, and its style is very good. I think it still respects the earlier version of Tahu, but enhances it greatly. I might think that maybe the head's a little bit small compared to the rest of the body, but to be honest, when I actually started building this, I built the neck up way too high, and it looked very awkward. But I'm okay with it the way it is right now. As far as the combo model, you can click the link in the description, and you can check out the combo model between this set and the earlier set we mentioned, the Protector of Fire. Looks a lot like this. So thank you for watching this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you want to see more Bionicle reviews, 2015 or before then, all the way back to 2001, you can check them out on the playlist in my channel. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time with more LEGO videos.